Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Random University. This is the revamped version for the year 2021. I'm joined by my new co-host, Elly. How you doing, Elly?
Good. Thank you for having me. I'm super stoked to be on your show. Really flattered and honored that you asked me to be a part of this, and I'm looking forward to see how the show grows and how we expand as the time goes on.
Absolutely. And trust me, I was more excited that you agreed to be on because I was like, I don't know, after the first time this girl's going to meet all of us, it's might be pretty dicey, but you know what? You fit in perfectly.
Oh boy, I don't know what that says about me. But
Is that worse for us or you?
Right, yeah, right? It's like, ugh. Although, to be fair, my husband has every now and then been like, I'm married to a 13-year-old boy. So, there is that.
Hey, it is what it is. So tell us a little bit about yourself, just what you do, and then we'll get into what we're going to talk about.
Sure. So I'm a really big science nerd. I have a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology. I also love animals. So one of my other side things is I actually do a podcast with my dad and our friend that's a zookeeper called Just Animals. So that's kind of how I got into the podcasting world. Our show is probably about like a year and a half old now. It's been surprisingly successful, and our audience is continually growing. So if you want to go learn about animals and hear some off-the-cuff humor, definitely go check it out. We're on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, all the major platforms. But yeah, just a big science buff, and again, love animals and stuff too. Went to LSU, go Tigers. From California, still in California, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm not that interesting.
I don't know. It's going to be pretty interesting because now we'll have an East Coast perspective and a West Coast perspective.
That's what I brought up to my husband. I was like, I was telling him this the other day. I was like, see, now it's like they've really expanded the horizon here now, because now you've got east, you've got as far east as you can go and as far west as you can go. Mm-hmm. So,
and now we finally have the female dynamic. Because we got to get those Instagram numbers up. We only have 13% women viewers. Oh my God.
I know how that goes. Yeah. My show's kind of the opposite. It's mostly female, but I also like whatever at the same time.
But you know what? Your show's very interesting though, because you're able to link. You have a very good personality, so you're able to link in like your sense of humor and your personality, plus the dynamics of people that are on it, along with talking about the animals. So it's really entertaining, honestly.
Thank you. I like to think so,
Yeah, we like to think the same about ours.
Maybe we'll get a Webby someday, or, be on some type of podcast award show, but...
Yeah, right. They will have to have a podcast award show at some point. I mean, I'm sure Joe Rogan's going to dominate the whole thing.
It's going to be Joe Rogan and then like NPR, but maybe someone will.
Joe Rogan, or as I like to call him, Oprah for men.
Yes. Oh, that's fantastic. Yes, he is.
100% is. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, because he appeals to men of all ages, and that's what they do. Like my husband, my brother, their friends, they all listen. They're all on the Joe Rogan train. Yeah,
you can reference Joe Rogan for anything. You'd be like, the other day, you're speaking about sleep. Oh, you know what? On Rogan's podcast the other day, he had a sleep expert on.
That is incredibly true, because my husband will be listening to it. He's like, they had some biologist from Chile on the other day, and they were talking about, whatever random animal, and I was like, cool. That's also Joe Rogan getting this famous researcher on his show. Average Joe's like, nobody's like me. It's like, yeah, good luck, getting them to even email you back. But yeah, exactly. You're right. There's a Joe Rogan show for everything.
Absolutely. Everything. And then all his cronies off of it.
Yes.
All right. So before we get started, I got to do one thing. Let me go off screen for this. I'm back.
Amazing.
So, maybe you should give the story behind this hat.
Well, did you watch?
I did.
And did you love it?
I absolutely did.
Yeah. It's as much entertaining as it is disturbing that there are actually people in the world existing in that type of state of delusion. So I don't know if you guys heard of iPhone Girl, but that 22-year-old woman that accosted a 14-year-old young man because she claimed he stole her phone and literally tackled him to the ground. Did an interview with Gayle King. You guys should check it out. I don't know if we can like post the link or something to it. So it's like this 2-part interview. And she's talking to Gayle King, and she's got like a tube top on and a zip-up jacket and a daddy hat, as you can see. And she's sitting there with her lawyer. So obviously she takes it quite seriously that she's in some legal trouble. She actually got arrested out in Ventura County, I think like 2 weeks ago. And they had to like forcibly remove her from her car. She wouldn't even get out of her car. So that like just to set the tone on the kind of like, you know, kook we're dealing with here. And then she kept saying all these things like, I'm sorry if they felt offended, or I'm sorry if he felt like I assaulted him. And then they're playing the clip of her physically like tackling this kid to the ground. And she's like, well, I'm sorry if he felt that I assaulted him. It's like, no, there's no feel. Like there's literally video footage of you physically tackling a child. And then she also weirdly tries to play the victim too by saying like, well, I'm, you know, this woman, I'm alone in New York. And it's like, well, don't go to New York alone if it's that big of an issue. That was kind of my response to it. Or it's just like, I get it. Yes, unfortunately, women are unfortunately more vulnerable than men. I'm sorry if we probably just pissed off some feminazis, but I don't really care. That's just reality. And it's also just scientific. Men make more testosterone than women. So yes, they are physically stronger than us. Sorry, that's just science, and that's unfortunately the way it is. But clearly not. So yeah, I get the whole thing, like, you know, if you're a woman, you're alone, you are unfortunately more vulnerable because we are just in a world full of shitty people. Yeah. So I get that. But then don't play the I'm alone and I'm in New York, then don't go to New York City alone then. Like, I don't know why that doesn't even really seem smart. And my dad's from Brooklyn. Like, I don't know if I would want to go into New York City alone. And I've been going there since I was a kid. Like, I don't now really know why you even thought that was a good idea.
But how much of it do you think is maybe her trying to get some sort of fame from the whole incident?
Probably. That's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of it. Because I mean, just because she's so unbelievable in the interview that it's like, there's no way you have gone through life like this.
Yeah, like it somewhat had to be planned. It somewhat had to be scripted because it's with the age of like viral videos and everything, and the way just culture and everything moves quickly to like what's the next thing? What's the most ridiculous thing? Like, I'm sure something will happen tomorrow that'll be the most ridiculous thing. It'll be a new video. It'll be a new clip. It'll spread around like wildfire. Everybody will see it. Everyone will react. And then the next day will happen and something else will happen again. So it's like when a situation like this happens, especially if you're mindful of it, you know, you got to take, if you're that person, like I'm not supporting her in any way, but I'm saying you almost have to take advantage of it because now's your moment. You can get, like, look, I'm wearing this hat on here because of this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, she's definitely left a mark. I mean, as soon as people found who she was, there were articles about her on TMZ, like, within a couple hours. And it's like, if you're on TMZ, and I mean, not that you can give them that much credit, but they are also pretty spot on when they do find stuff out about other people. It's like, if you're on TMZ, you've made quite a name for yourself. It's like, it picked you up.
Yeah, you're big enough that TMZ covered you and put you on their Instagram story.
Right. So I think absolutely this totally could be a way for her to capitalize on her fame, and I think that's probably what she will do, like anybody probably would. Unfortunately, you know, it's not for a good reason.
Yeah.
And one of my other favorite things too is when she said, well, what about me? When the dad, he like pulled my hair and pulled me off of his kid. And it's like, okay, you attacked
Listen to what you just said.
Yeah. I was just so like, my jaw when I hit the floor. It's like, you literally just admitted to, you jumped a kid. You're lucky. I was talking to John about this again. I was like, she's lucky that that's all he did to her.
Yeah.
To be completely honest, he's like, you're gonna attack someone's kid. Like, I think, if I remember correctly, they had like just gotten off the elevator. So clearly, his son has his phone, because I'm assuming usually when you come down from an elevator in a hotel, you just came out of your room.
Yeah, you would think.
So there's a 99% chance they were just in their hotel room where he had his phone the whole time, and then comes down while he's still on his phone, and then some young woman comes and attacks you verbally and then physically assaults you. And I cannot think what any reasonable parent would do if they just see someone jump their kid. Like, she's lucky he didn't pound her freaking face in.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I'm standing there and that's my kid and some lady, I mean, this is me personally. I probably wouldn't like just beat the shit out of her, but I mean, I
Right.
would forcefully pull her off and throw and
Absolutely.
toss her and be like,
Yeah.
"What are you doing?" You know.
Right.
And then
Right.
in the same breath, though, like, why would you believe that somebody took your phone? Like,
Right.
there's more than one iPhone that's ever been made.
Right. Like,
And pretty much, I mean, everyone has their own, like, I know this case that I have on it and everything. Like,
right.
if I saw somebody with this, I'd be, at first, because we're all human beings, I'd be like, oh,
Right.
they do make more of that case and that phone. And there is a possibility out of the 7.3 billion people on this planet that somebody has a combination that I have at the same time, and we happen to be crossing paths,
Yeah.
could
Oh,
happen.
yeah, actually, a coworker, we had the same like iPhone 6 Plus and the same case. For whatever reason, he got the same case my mom bought me. And so there were times he would have it out and I would grab it and then I'd like pick it up. As soon as I picked it up, I'd be like, that's not mine. I'd put it back.
Yeah.
But, like, I still feel like the odds are like pretty rare. And like, again, most people have cases or there's a scratch in the upper right
There's a
hand
defining
corner.
feature.
Right. And like, your phone. But yeah, I mean, I still just love well, what about the dad, pulling my hair and like pulling me off? And you jumped the child. Like, you're lucky he didn't smash your face into the fucking wall, and rightfully so. Not saying that that's okay, but I feel like any parent, if you jump their kid that's just texting on their phone and minding their own business, yeah, I'm going to smash your face into the wall. Don't touch my kid.
Yeah, and just the fact that it's a child. Like, there's another way that you could handle that entire situation. You could, if you really suspect that it's your phone, you could be like, hey, I think I lost my phone. Is that it? Like, you're immediately just accusing somebody of something, and nonetheless, it's a child. Like, really,
Right.
come on.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking too. Like, there are definitely better ways to say, like, hey, my phone is missing. It actually looks a lot like yours. Did you by chance see it laying around or maybe accidentally grab it? Like, I'm only asking because you have like the exact same case that I do, and so maybe you saw it because
Yeah.
if you recognize stuff that looks like yours, like it's when you like see your mom's car on the roadway, it's like, oh, that's my mom's car, like something normal like that. But instead, it's he has my phone.
Yeah.
Stop him.
And one of the weirdest things too is like it's so strange for someone to immediately blame someone else.
Yeah.
Like, look, if I'm anywhere, right? If I'm walking somewhere and I feel my pockets and I'm like, oh shit, where's my phone? I don't immediately go to, oh, somebody here stole it. My first thought is I left it somewhere.
Right.
It's sitting somewhere.
Yeah, it's like, way to go, dumbass. It fell out of your bag,
Yep.
it fell out of your backpack, or you put it down and then walked away from it, because that's usually what happens. Like, I left my water bottle at the gym the other day and I had to like flip around and go get it. But yeah, you're right. That's the other thing too, is like, normally it's like, oh fuck, I left it somewhere, not like, you have it.
Child, you have it.
Right, yeah. Random child in the elevator definitely took my shit. It's like, okay.
Yeah, so that's just the story behind this hat for this crazy bitch.
True.
But we'll move on from there. Now, this episode comes out on Tuesday, so tomorrow is Grampa Joe's inauguration. For all you Biden supporters out there. And listen, I just want to get this out now. Before anyone calls us Trump supporters or me or a Biden supporter or a hatred of the left or the right, I don't give a fuck about politics at all. At all. Politics, they are good for absolutely nothing. All they do is they keep the systems in place of garbage disposal, of hospitals, of all the things that are necessary for society to function. That's all that they keep in place. Because what was the place? Chad? Up in Seattle?
Oh, Chad.
Portland. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded like a country club douchebag that like plays golf every day.
But the thing is, they tried to separate themselves, and then their entire society that they tried to build, their infrastructure, completely collapsed because they have no organization. So, I will say, in those terms, the government does keep us on track with those things, because if we lost garbage disposal, road work, things like that, if we did lose that, things would go to shit. So I'm not like an anarchist where I'm like, down with the government, fuck them all. You know, I'm not on that spectrum of it, but I am in the spectrum of I don't believe that they should be legislating in things like abortion and human rights and the right for gay people to get married. What the fuck are you doing? Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
just that's my stance. I'm not pro-Trump. I'm not pro-Biden. I don't give a fuck about either of them. I think the whole president and the dictatorship, pretty much. I think that there should be a cut. I'll put this out there now. I think that there should be a cutoff. I think that between the ages of 40 and 55 is the only space that we should be allowed to elect a president. Anything after 55, you're too old. I'm sorry.
Well, there is. I think it's actually 35 is the youngest you can be, and I think JFK to this day was still the youngest elected president. And I think he was 40, maybe. I don't
No, he was 38, I think.
Okay, so exactly, but yeah, and because he was like people were like, but then people, of course, glom onto that. It's like, oh, he's 38 years old, and it's like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Does he actually genuinely care about the American people as they all claim to? You know.
Listen, the whole thing about a president caring or not caring about the American people, it comes down to money. In my opinion, the rich will never care about the poor.
No.
Anybody who is in politics, anybody who is in any type of power has money. And as human beings, it's in our best interest to keep making more money because you get used to a lifestyle, you get used to a certain level of living, and you don't want to lose that. So why do you rise to power? So you can keep that fucking money. Now, I will say this. The reason why I say between ages of 40 to 55 should be the cutoff for a president is because when you start reaching, like in this case now, what's Trump? 72?
Like 75.
All right. So I think he's 73, but he's 73. So we can argue that who you are as a person, in my opinion, I think is made up from the ages of 19 until about 26. You really form your opinions of the world, who you are as a genuine human being, right? So if we go back to, let's say, when Trump was 20, right? So that's 50 years ago. So where does that put us? In the 1960s, correct?
Yikes.
So we want a guy who formed his view on the world in 1960 to now move us into the future in 2021.
And who also had his ass wiped for him his whole life too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You know.
But it's also like people in like, let's say GE, right? Their president and CEO steps down. Do you think that they're going to take someone from the low levels in the office and move them up and say, you know what, you should be the president of this company? They're absolutely not. They're going to take a person, whoever's going to be that next guy in line will step into succession. He's probably been rich his whole life. He doesn't know the struggles of normal people. They've never lived a normal life. They don't know. So, before I go any further with all that, that is my stance on politics. Now, Elly, if you want, you can give yours.
Okay, I was interject. JFK was 43, so
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so anyways, we want to be as accurate as possible. You know, no fake news if we can help it. But you know, I'm pretty much the same way. Like, obviously, for society to run, there does need to be some structure and there does need to be structure and defined lines. I mean, like, even in a house, you still have to say, like, I yield my time to the chair and, like, ask for permission to speak, and there's a certain decorum and all that kind of stuff, and there's time limits for how long you can speak, and stuff has to be written in the right way. I personally, if I had to, like, label myself, it'd be moderate. There are definitely benefits to, you know, maybe more Republican style government and then maybe more Democratic style government. They both definitely have their benefits. Unfortunately, I feel like we're at this weird time of extremism on both sides. And it's like, that's not going to work and that's not going to work. Can we please meet somewhere in the middle? And can we,
Can I say one thing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I agree with you in the extremism, but I think the media is a lot to blame because they only show the extreme people. Because there's what was the number? It was like 334 million people in this country, something like that.
Something crazy.
Yeah, so you're telling me that all 334 million, right or left, there is no in between. There's no way.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make for interesting TV. Go on.
No, because and that's the thing too. And I was saying that too for something not that long ago. It's like the media is partially to blame in some of these things because they're just kind of putting more fuel on the fire, so to speak. And unfortunately, only polarizing things are newsworthy for whatever reason. And the only thing that makes national news is like someone did something really fucked up, or a giraffe gave birth to triplets. Like that's literally all it is.
Yep.
Am I wrong though?
No, you're 100% right. It's the same reason why we glorify serial killers and make documentaries about them.
I do love those though. Who doesn't? I do love those serial killer documentaries, but then I also am aware enough to acknowledge the fact that they do unfortunately promote copycats because people realize like, oh, Son of Sam got really famous, Golden State Killer, Zodiac, Night Stalker. I could go on and on. The accident of New Orleans. It's like, so some people do unfortunately start doing that sick stuff because they want to be Ted Bundy, because they want that type of fame too. So they're now actually, that's one of my other things I nerd out about is like criminology and true crime kind of stuff. They're actually now trying to make it but they're trying to shift the focus more onto the victim and not so much talking about the killer, like not even really no more giving the killer nicknames, no more like addressing them, making news stories strictly about the victim and their family, and trying to mention the killer as little as possible so that they don't get the attention that they used to. And if that's how they get their rocks off, they're less likely to if it's not you're not giving some name like the Night Stalker or the Zodiac or whatever. So there is a shift in the psychology of how like crime is presented and how it's talked about, to not put so much praise. I mean, it's obviously not praise, but if you're going out and murdering people, something's wrong with you. So of course, if you're being talked about on the news, you would see that as like accolades and praise. So talking about them less and not giving them a nickname and not making them the center of the story, essentially. So kind of like deflating their sales. And now, granted, that's going to be a long time to come for that to be the new norm, but that is the direction that it seems that like criminal psychologists are trying to go in, so that it doesn't promote people to go out and do really Unabomber. Sorry, that's another one too.
Oh, yeah.
To go do something really or to go do something really messed up because they know they're going to get attention for it and they want to be the next Unabomber or the next Manson family or whatever. So that has come up. Now, as for how long it'll take for that to be changed and whatnot, because unfortunately people don't want to hear about the victim, they want to hear about the weird sick shit they did. So myself included, but
but see, the thing with that is then you get into a little bit of like a human psychology type thing, because what does that say about us as a public? Because we're so like, you hear about, Ted Bundy, he kills people. Who was the one that ate the people?
There's a few. There was one in Sacramento.
It's terrible
Richard.
To say.
I know that.
There's a few.
So there's Ed Gein, Wisconsin. Okay, first of all, Wisconsin is like a breeding ground for.
Oh yeah. Well, there's nothing else to do up there.
Well, yeah, and after living there for like a year and a half, I didn't realize how many fuckos were from there. And so I was like looking up serial killers. I was like doing one of my little rabbit hole things. It's like, true crime. And then it's like, is this Milwaukee, Madison, Prairie du Chien, or Portage? And it's like, fuck, all these, we're in Madison, fuck. But
you think
yeah.
they were just mad because it was cold?
I don't know. But so there was Ed Gein. He actually was the inspiration for Texas Chainsaw Massacre because he like made lamps and shit out of skulls and like made like lampshades out of human skin and stuff. So that he was into Leatherface. You could say
he's into interior design. Okay.
Obviously, right, obviously. And I may or may not joke about, skinning my husband and making him into a lipstick. So I'll let you know when they're on the market. They'll be very rare pieces. Yeah, he ate his mom, I think. I think he dug up his mom and ate his mom. But part of it too, his mom like basically fucked him up because she basically was like, no one will have you. Like, you need me and only me in your life. And it's only not me, made her like that insane, like some weird Stockholm syndrome type of thing. And then Jeffrey Dahmer was eating people, Milwaukee. Which, funny story, so I had the gym that I was working at, one of the regulars, he actually, I don't know why this cop was still working, this was, I think, 2015, he got into a car accident, and one of the cops that let Jeffrey Dahmer go one of the first times was one of the cops that responded to his accident. And I was like, get a fucking lawyer and get a lawyer and get your money.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I was like, how is that man still working and why?
Yeah, if he let him go, I mean, that's a pretty, that's kind of inexcusable.
Right, because I mean, like he would go after like younger men, and you can tell, like he would like do crazy shit, like drill a hole in their heads and put bleach in their heads and all kinds of stuff. So it's like you could tell, like anyone with some sense of like this something is not right here. Like even if this is your really good friend, that's fine, but I'm gonna get your as a police officer, it's my due diligence to make sure your friend gets proper medical attention. So we are gonna call a paramedic or whomever and have them looked at. Like I'm sure they're fine and I trust you, but are you in the medical field? No? Okay. Well, we need to have him go get checked out.
Yeah.
You know, not just, oh, he's just really drunk.
Yeah. Yeah, but what I'm saying, though, is with all of those documentaries, all the things that we hear about and we've read about and we all memorize all these things, like, what does that say about us as a society? Because it's like a dark part of being a human being that we're all, it's like this. When you're driving down the road, right, and you're on the opposite side of the highway, and on the other side, there's a car accident, why does everyone on this side slow down? Why do we want to see it? Why do we want to see if there's an ambulance and there's a body on the ground? That's something that's terrible. You don't want to see that, but everyone does. Everyone loves to see those things. You can't look away. The injury videos, when somebody breaks their leg, it's, oh my God, look at this guy when he breaks his leg. You're like, oh, I don't want to see this shit. Oh my God. Yeah. I can't believe it. You know, so it's like, what does that say about human beings in general? That stuff is there, but maybe in those people, and trust me, I'm not defending them.
No, not at all. No.
But like that stuff is there in all of us, but for them, it's a little bit more prominent where they can't control their urges to do these things. Like maybe regular everyday people have these urges, and they're like, I'm able to suppress it more. You know?
Yeah, I think there are.
I'm just admitting something about myself. Everyone look out.
What's that lampshade made out of? Is that what is?
Oh no! Don't worry. It's just a cloth. You know?
It's only my cat.
Yes.
Fine. You know.
Okay, so we went way off the rails with this one. We started talking about Biden's inauguration and political stances, and then we went to serial killers.
Yeah, so you're welcome for that. If I could interject one thing about the inauguration, it's because Trump is such a pissant, and I'm not saying that I'm like super pro-Biden either, although I do have to say, I am really excited that he seems to really be taking a stance on criminal justice reform, and hopefully. And my fingers are crossed that he really pushes that and really does something with that, because in my mind, no one should be profiting off of keeping people locked up like animals.
No.
I don't care who you are. I mean, I don't care if you're Scott Peterson or whatever, but the fact that we have people becoming millionaires and billionaires off of owning private prisons in this country, and that's where our money is going to? Are you kidding me? Put that in school so people don't go to prison.
Yeah.
Put that in low-income neighborhoods. Provide some sort of maybe government subsidized daycare so moms and dads in low-income neighborhoods can go get a job and have their kids taken care of if they're too young for school. Like, there's so many things that money can be going to so that people don't actually end up in prison. Mm-hmm. I would much rather my money go to a government subsidized daycare program for low-income neighborhoods than going to make some random jackass letting him go buy his new Maserati. Yeah. And that's new. It's just so I'm really hoping he's successful with that, and no more locking up freaking drug users. Yeah. They need to be in rehab. I'd rather that money go to a rehab facility. You don't need to be behind bars. It doesn't teach you anything. It doesn't help you recover, so you don't need to be dependent on a substance. You need to be in a substance program.
Mm-hmm. See, I do agree with you on all that, and I think in a perfect world, all that would be very nice if they were. But see, the thing is, and again, this is just my opinion, you're taking on a giant in that.
Oh yeah, it's a mess.
You're truly taking on a giant, because you're talking about, when you start digging in people's pockets, that's when people start disappearing, and everyone's, oh, no, it's just in movies, it's just in shows. Well, all that shit is based off real life. And all those things are very real. Jeffrey Epstein.
Hello, yeah, Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, yes. Him, first of all. Number two, the government has come out and finally admitted that they put crack cocaine in the low-income neighborhoods in LA. Okay? Yeah. So that shit was real. And I was actually listening to something on the radio, and they're like, yeah, this person that was like some ex-government worker, they were, providing the story, and then they're like, oh, we tried to reach out for follow-up, and we haven't heard from them since.
Of course you're not going to. And nobody at the top is ever going to talk. So when you start digging into people's pockets, especially in the prison system, because that is such a profitable business, because you're talking about locking people up with these draconian sentences of 60 years, life times 2 and shit like that. And understandable. If you're talking about like a Hannibal Lecter type, yes. Put that person behind bars. They are a threat to society. They're a problem. But when you're talking about you pulled a dude over and he's got half a gram of weed on him and you're going to put him in jail for 5 years, something isn't right there. You're filling beds because somebody gets paid off of that.
Yeah, but wasting my fucking money. Yeah, exactly. Or, hey, if they have like, maybe 6 kilos of cocaine, okay, I get having a sentence for intent to deal. How about we just find the shit out of them and you have to do 1,000 hours of community service. Stop locking people up.
Or you just legalize all drugs because people are going to do them anyway.
I'm for that too. I'm also pro, you know what? I've almost considered getting into politics strictly to legalize prostitution, just because it would make it so much safer for everybody. And then it also would, the women that are being forced into it can actually run their own businesses because you don't need a pimp to protect you anymore. You have your own
but then you know what would happen. The government would dig their hands into that and they would find a way to tax the shit out of it. And we're going to create all these things, just like they're doing with weed right now. I mean, obviously weed has been legal in Colorado for how many years now? And in California for how many years? And now the rest of the country is finally seeing that, we can get real tax dollars from this. We can profit from this. So now everybody who's coming into power in every state, every governor, the whole thing is now, look at Cuomo in New York. Oh, I'm going to make weed legal now. A year ago, he said anyone who does weed needs to be put in prison. So where are we on that? You're just doing it. You're hopping on the train. You're seeing that New York is dying. The biggest city in the world is literally dying. And now you're like, oh God, we need to fucking make some money. So what do we do now? But in my opinion, if they legalized everything, because let's be honest, people are going to get what they want anyway, regardless of whether it's illegal or it's not. So you can't tell me about, we want to make sure people are safe. No, you could give a fuck if people are safe, because
you really that's a blow it out your ass.
Listen,
people are safe.
All the control they have all over all the borders and everything that comes in and out of this country. You're telling me that the government doesn't have some sort of hand on all the heroin that comes in here, all the cocaine that comes in here, all the drugs? They fucking regulate it. They know who it's going to. They know where it's going to. So all of that legislation on that, throw it out the window. But as far as the prisons, I think instead of kind of trying to restructure like the privatized prison industry, because I don't think you can take that giant on, unfortunately. And again, just my opinion, I think you need to reform when you sentence people. How long you're sentencing people for it, what the crimes are, the degrees of crimes. I think those things can be reformed. And then getting people out that have been put in there for bogus shit,
Yeah, right.
Like that's a very big thing. So if Biden can do any of that stuff, I mean, I really don't know. I feel like most presidents, when they go in, they're all about, they preach the same things. I want to lower taxes for everybody under $75,000 a year. Okay, well, that's the majority of the country. You're just trying to get votes, because then they get in there and they don't lower any of the taxes because they realize how much of a hit they would take once their 4 years is up and they go back to running whatever business they were running.
Right, and their rich friends are also like, no, I don't want to pay my fair share, no. Even though, I mean, and I'll be honest, so here's my whole thing too, for all the people that did vote for 45, I was like, oh, he's looking out for the little man. you're fucking delusional, number one. Number two, my recorded income, I am below the national U.S. poverty line. My taxes went up with him in office. Okay? And I know I'm not the only person whose reportable income is either at or below the poverty line. So it wasn't just me whose taxes went up. So that's the other thing too. It's like the whole tax thing, you kind of have to just ignore that because they're most likely, unfortunately, going to go up for us lower class citizens, which is terrible. But the rich will always look out for the rich, and that's how. Because I was looking in how these big ass companies, like the Lakers and all the other companies were able to even, first of all, which was insulting, apply for those small business loans back in March and April. It's like, first of all, the fact that you have the audacity and gall to apply for a small business loan when you're a multi-million-dollar organization is beyond me. And then second of all, you're being approved for it, which is the second slap in the face to actual small businesses. I went and looked up the law because I was just so pissed off about this because we all know someone whose small business is either under or about to go under right now. And I was pissed off because no, I don't want to see this shit go. And I looked into it. There is a loophole written in that law where it's something about if you have branches that have less than X amount, let's say less than 500 or 250 amount of employees, then you technically qualify as a small business as long as it's a branch with X amount of under the number of X amount of employees. It's like, you motherfuckers. Because who had to pass that? Had to have been a bipartisan. I mean, the Republicans can't just move a bill through, neither can the Democrats. Both sides had to vote in this law. And it's like, there is a fucking loophole in there. Are you kidding me? You know what the
thing is? With things like that, we're not aware of those things. We're not supposed to be made aware of those things. When they pass a COVID relief bill, what are the things that most people are concerned about?
How much money am I getting?
When are you going to send me a check? How much is the check? And will my unemployment benefits get renewed? Nobody cares about the 255-page document that throws things like that in there that says, okay, small businesses are considered, if you have a branch of your business that's under 250 employees, you can qualify for this. So you better believe an organization like the Lakers will have a branch that will be reporting under 250 employees if, God forbid, we go through a pandemic, some sort of economic crisis, or both at the same time, so they can apply and get their piece of the pie and work that fucking system. And it's disgusting. And this kind of brings me to my next point. Now, in the beginning, when Trump got voted in, I think that it was kind of against, obviously it's not what they wanted. It's not what the government wanted in the first place. I mean, this is their nightmare scenario. We just elected a celebrity to be the king of America, essentially. The king of the world, if you will.
Yeah, pretty much.
And could you choose a more egotistical person to be king of the world? Right? So, and this is just, I'll give a short timeline, right? So he gets elected. I think it shocked him a little bit that, wow.
Yeah, I think it did too. I honestly think it did too.
And I think that he's the type of person that all he wanted to do was win. He didn't really want to be president. He just wanted to win. That's all it was, just to show I could win. I'm the best. I'm number one. I'm the man. I guarantee you if somebody would have walked in his office a week after and said, look, we can nix the whole thing. We'll make Hillary the president, but we'll still write it down in the history books that you won. I guarantee you he would have said yes.
Yeah, probably.
Right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so now, all the big heads in Washington, everybody in the Senate, everybody in Congress, how do we get this motherfucker out of here? Because
they thought they could control him.
He's promising people all these crazy things, and we are not going to be able to deliver on this. And what if he shakes shit up? What if he lets go some of our secrets? What if he puts stuff out there? Oh my God, what are we going to do? We'll fucking impeach him, right? We'll say Russia got involved with this because he's good friends with Putin, right? Oh, yeah. That's absolutely perfect. That's what we'll do. All right, so now we work for, how long did they work that first impeachment? A year?
A while.
I mean, we kept, I remember seeing articles daily. Oh, today's the day. They're going to get him. Today's the day. And then they never fucking got him. They never did anything, right? So then now we have our economy, or well, I don't want to say economy, but our stock market increasing because he is a businessman, So he knows what he's doing business-wise. So he knows how to pump up numbers to make it look like everything's good, right? Not that he actually was doing a good job. And again, not pro-Trump, not anti-Trump. I'm in the middle. I'm right there. I'm just saying it how I saw it, right? So now they've lost control of him because, oh, I'm going to fire a nuke here. I'm going to fire a nuke there. I don't give a shit. Go ahead. Kim Jong-un, you want to fire one off? I'll get you too. No, now we're best friends. He brokers all these peace deals all over the world, and now he thinks he's a hero. He thinks he's doing these amazing things. And to be honest, for him to go over to North Korea is pretty crazy. I will say that. Because when's the last time a U.S. leader or a U.S. official was in North Korea?
Well, to be fair, Dennis Rodman is our ambassador to North Korea. Right. So don't you dare.
I know.
Don't you dare talk shit about Dennis.
You're totally right. You're totally right. Okay. But, right, so now we come down to the final year of his presidency. And there is such a strong following for him with his supporters that he's built up because people are fanatics of him. You got to remember, he's a celebrity.
But you have to give him credit. And this is what I've been talking to people about. I'm like, as much as I have not cared for his politics and his uncouth behavior for an elected official, especially an elected official of the U.S., he has done a phenomenal job of not only getting a fan base, but maintaining a fan base and getting them so rabid over him. It's almost cult-like. Well, it is a cult, basically. Like, you have to give him credit. He knows how to drum up a fan base and keep them happy and keep them to literally die for him at this point now. Like, you have to give credit for that. Yeah. Like, that is quite impressive.
Oh, it absolutely 100% is. And that is a lot of why they began to get scared, because they knew that they were going to come out in numbers again and they would reelect him. Because there were so many people, the Democrats didn't have anybody to go against him. They weren't going to let Hillary do it again. There's no way she would win.
I think she finally also took a hint, but to be fair too, that was what was probably most disappointing about the 2016 election for me, was like, we have 328 million people in this country, and those are our two best options. We have to choose from those two people.
Yep.
That's it. All the people in this country, and those are the people we have to choose from. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But the fact that it even got down to those two as the finalists for me is like, there's a, I don't know, fundamental problem or systemic problem. Something is wrong that these were our two finalists.
Yeah, and they were never going to let Bernie do it, because Bernie's going to blow the top off everything.
Right. Well, because the DNC doesn't like him because he's an independent, but then, he'll want the DNC to back him, to push him for a strong candidacy, which I get. But, unfortunately, being an independent in this in this political climate does not pay.
No.
And, they want someone to push. But it's also just like, they should have showed you the DNC rigged it so that Hillary won, first of all. So Bernie would have won. And I honestly think, had Bernie won the DNC nod, he probably would have either been a very close election,
I think he
or
would
he
have
would have
won.
won.
I think he would have won.
Because
he has, you know what the thing is about Bernie? Trust me, it could be an act. Who knows? Who really knows? But to me, he seems very genuine.
Yeah.
Everything that he says, he seems like a very humanitarian. Like, he really wants to help people. He's like tired of the shit. And he's like, you know what? I'm fucking old. I've been here forever. I'm trying to change some shit. Like, just put me in there. Just put me in.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there are not many pictures of politicians that you can see from like the civil rights movement that were actually there and a part of it, and two, like being arrested because they were a part of it. So, it seems like he's been pretty, so I would say like thorough, but just pretty stagnant in like a good way on where he lies and his stance on things and like social equity, this, that, and the other thing. And I'll admit, some of his things did seem a bit out of reach, and it's like, you dream on, buddy. But the intent to even like try to tackle that or do something about it, I think was good. But the DNC screwed themselves, which is what no one wants to talk about. But the DNC, they shot themselves in the foot, because you pushed through a candidate that no one actually really wanted. Like, I would have loved to see a woman president. Did I want it to be Hillary? No. I would have loved to have a woman. I have no problem with there being a woman president. I would love for that to happen. But do I want my first woman president to be Hillary Clinton?
Absolutely
no.
Because,
no, I don't.
Because she's just an evil human being.
Right.
It's written in her face. Like, you don't even have to listen to her speak. You can watch her walk up to the stage, and you just see in her eyes, it's like like there's something else always going on. Like, she's mouthing something, and then something's happening over here. That's
Oh yeah.
always the impression I had of her.
Yeah, yeah, they're both. I mean, it's like you're both. It's my thing. The way I saw it is like both of you need to be in jail. If we're being completely honest, both of you should be in jail.
Without a doubt.
So, like, we're voting on two jailbirds here. Like, both of you need to be locked up for your bullshit that you've done and pulled. And can we reshuffle the deck here and get something else? But that was probably what I think was the most disappointing fact, was like, those were our two options out of all the people and all the politicians in this country. And that just goes to show you how far money, it's not even about the best politics anymore. It's who has the fattest wallet.
Yes, who has the most money, who can rise to the top, because they did it to Bernie again this year.
Yeah.
I really thought that they were going to nominate him. I truly thought. I was like, wow, they're really going to give him a shot.
Well, I think the only reason why they did it was because they know Biden is a little bit more on the moderate spectrum, and they wanted to, if you want to have mass appeal, because Democrats are automatically going to vote for Biden. That was a given. The Democrats are going to vote for whoever is nominated. Mm-hmm. But you want to appeal to that moderate crowd, and that crowd that initially supported Trump and is now like, oh, that might have been a mistake. And for them, and some people, when it was Trump versus Hillary and Bernie, people, just want to trash Bernie as being this socialist, like, commie, whatever. And, people, those are like the buzzwords that scare people when you say socialist or communism.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah. So, people unfortunately have that, like, you hear Bernie, you hear socialist for most people. So I think appeal wise, Biden was the smarter choice because he has much more mass appeal to moderates and to people that are like, oh, you know what? I made a mistake voting for him, but I'm not going to vote for Bernie. But let's see what else you got, because then I can support them and not feel like we're going to be some socialist Canada or something.
Yeah.
Well, so that's my theory.
Yeah, I agree with you. To add to it, though, I think a lot of what they did was. They really wanted to get back to politics as usual. And I feel like Joe Biden is a perfect candidate for that. He's been in government for 40 or 50 years. He's never really done anything. He's never stepped up and made any type of change. So now at 78 years old, because you became president, you're going to make the changes necessary. Like, what were you doing for the past 40 years, man? Like, I can't get on board with that. Like, oh, we're going to change. We're not going to change. We're going to go back to our regularly scheduled programming. Because, and it's funny, Joe Rogan actually said this in one of his specials. And it's kind of coming to fruition. But it's just like, it's like America was dating this, like, hot stripper, and we were like, oh my God, she's so hot, this and that, but you can't really marry a stripper and make her your wife and like have kids with her, because she's a crazy stripper and she's just fucking anyone, and like she's doing coke, and like you're staying up late and you're partying all the time, and you're like, oh my God, I can't handle all this shit anymore. And then you come across some like run-of-the-mill lady, she's pretty sensible. She's got her head on straight. She doesn't look as good as the stripper, but you know what? At least she'll go to bed at 8 o'clock at night. And it's just back to normal. Everything is, okay, well, like, politics isn't going to be so chaotic anymore. Everything's not going to be so crazy. And that's kind of how that's the direction I was going with what I was talking about. Over the course of 4 years, they tried so hard to get Trump out of office, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't pull it off. And then the pandemic came, and I'm not saying that the pandemic is not real. The coronavirus is a real fucking thing. For everybody out there that wants to say, oh, he's a denier. I am not a denier. The sickness is very real. I know people very close to me who have gotten it and are still in the hospital with it.
Eek.
But this is the thing. I believe that it was manipulated and it was used as leverage for certain things. All of the small businesses, all those things, shutting things down. But what mainly I feel like it was used for was to get us off of Trump. Because things were going all right. Things were going pretty good in the country. The stock market was up. People had jobs. Everyone was making money. Sure, he said the crazy shit from time to time, and he tweeted some ridiculous things. But you know what? At least things money-wise were on the up and up, right? So now they need to get him out. Oh, here comes this disease. It's sweeping. Close it all down. Get it all out. And then now we come to the end of it, where it's like, oh, well, he's protesting the vote. You know, oh, the count was off. The count was off. They didn't submit all the votes. They lied for Biden and blah 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 blah. Right? Whatever. Even if they did, we would never know about it. We're never going to know about it. But the thing is, they needed a thing like the riot at the Capitol to happen to really put the nail in the coffin for him. And that's why now they're going to try, even though he's got what? I mean, if this is Tuesday, so he's got
52 hours? No, 24?
He's got 24 hours left, and they're going to try to impeach him. For what? Because it's the final fuck you from America saying, we got you, motherfucker, not you. You didn't get us. Because he wants to get his ass out of there because he knows exactly what's going to happen. I had read that
straight to fucking jail.
Oh, I had read that he has a golf course in Scotland that he owns.
Oh, they won't let him in. They're not letting him in.
They will not let him in the country. And they used the coronavirus as a reason why he cannot travel there. So there again, another leverage of the pandemic that, oh, this guy's not allowed to leave. So they can't. If we didn't have a pandemic, you couldn't put sanctions on him. You couldn't say, no, you can't leave the country because you haven't arrested him for anything. And you would have to fake some charges to try to arrest him. So what do? Oh, coronavirus is still happening. Don't let that motherfucker leave this country. And that's why he's not going to the inauguration, which, to be honest, if I was in his shoes, everyone's going to say, oh, that's so classless and blah, blah, blah. None of us would go either. You would not want to be there. All the shit that's happened, you'd be embarrassed. You wouldn't want to just deal with all that shit. You got to hand the keys to the car over to Joe Biden. And you know Joe Biden's going to give him that fucking smile and the wink and be like, thanks, bud. Just like that. And, and Trump being so egotistical, that's going to strike him to his core.
That's going to set him off. And he's going to he'll really do some crazy shit.
Exactly.
But, yeah. So actually, you did bring up a good point because, I wasn't quite sure what Joe Biden had done as a senator either. Granted, he's in Delaware and, neither of us are from Delaware. But he was the sponsor of the original Violence Against Women Act in 1994. He has done quite a lot for women's rights and gender equity. So we do have to give him that.
Yeah, I'll give him his credit where credit is due.
I mean, has he done anything notable? Like that's, that some senators have pushed for? I don't know. Again, that's probably me not doing my own due diligence and doing my research. But from what I have read, he has been an integral part in certain things, which is good. So it's like the mentality is there for him to want to do good, I guess, by the American people, so to speak. But it'll just be interesting how, he can recover from this dumpster fire that is our nation currently.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you now. So I want to wrap everything up, all the things we talked about, not the serial killers though, but just your thoughts going forward on, okay, now Biden's going to be president. How do you even begin to clean all this shit up? How do you clean 4 years up?
Yeah, I have no fucking clue. You know what? I just hope, it looks like he's picking quite a very strong cabinet. But this impeachment stuff is getting in the way of them improving his appointees. Yeah. So that's a problem too. It's just like, can we put a pause on that so that the administration can at least try to hit the ground running and try to start coming back from this, horrible place that we are in as a nation. But I mean, he and his cabinet and Kamala, they have their work cut out for them. I feel like the first probably year and a half, if not 2 years, are just going to be absolutely brutal for them. They're trying to just recover whatever scraps they can and put whatever they can back together long enough so that they can hopefully go put out that fire. And then, I'm assuming the ultimate deal is to then finally deal with all of it. But it's like, it's like the emergency room. You got to go in and like triage, like, okay, you've got a brain bleed, you've got a broken ankle, and you have a cough. So we're going to deal with the brain bleed first. And then, okay, we'll patch up the ankle, and then the cough, here's some medicine, So they've got to really take a triage approach to this, which I just can't imagine. I'm sure that's really sucks. And I'm sure I'm sure everyone is already super stressed out because there's a lot of shit that's like, that needs to be dealt with now.
Mm-hmm.
but not all of it can be dealt with right now. Some things do have to take priority. So it's just, I think they're in triage mode right now, which is unfortunate and sad because I feel like we shouldn't be in this state, but that's probably for a whole nother day. But they've definitely got their work cut out for them. And I'm interested to see how they try to come back from this. It'll be interesting. It's like, even when Trump got elected, was he my pick? No. But did I want him to fail miserably? Also no, because then who suffers because of that? We do.
Yeah.
So no, I did not want Trump to fail miserably. Was I happy he got elected? No, but it's also like, please, there's a 1 ounce of hope in me that's like, please, maybe you'll actually surprise us and do some good.
Yeah.
Like, fingers crossed you can do something right. Which, but, so it's just that hope is there again, where it's like, please do something right and help us right the ship, so to speak.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's the same thing. It's like walking into a high school class, like it's your first day at class and you have a shitty teacher. Like, what are you going to do? I'm not going to do my homework. Who are you hurting? You. It's the same thing. Like, you're not my president. Okay, well, who are you hurting? Well, myself. But you can't tell people that because everyone's so, I'm against everything. I want to kill everybody. But I do agree with you. I definitely think that they're definitely in a hole. I think it's going to be very interesting come tax season. Because I want to see how they're going to handle what was it? The first one was 1,200, and then we got a 600. And
did you get your 600? Sorry.
Yeah. No. I actually got it the day after.
What?
Yeah. I don't know how. I don't know why it's so fast. I looked at my bank account the night after they said it was going out, and it was there. I got lucky. I know there's a lot of people that still didn't get it yet. But trust me, the first one I didn't get for 3.5 months. So that was a long ass time.
Oh yeah, because we got the first one like pretty quickly. I think it was maybe like a week or so after. It was pretty quick. The turnaround was very quick for us.
Maybe they just did a reverse on the list.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's what they're doing. Like, we fucked you the first time, so now we'll help you out.
Those people we waited all the way until like August to give it to them. Let's give it them first. Yeah, we'll give them the 600 first. But see, the thing is with that money though, that it's a lot of people, and I've had conversations with people about this. It's not free money. Not just handing out free money. That money's got to come from somewhere. It needs to be accounted for. And you better believe they're not going to borrow from trust funds. They're not going to borrow from any government funding. They're going to borrow from your tax return from this year. And when everyone goes to do their taxes and they see, holy shit, what's this $2,000 added on? Oh, that's the money we gave you this year. Oh. And we're not going to do anything about it. But meanwhile, let's all sit and fight and wait for a $1,400 check to come so we can pay for that next year. But I hope that they're able to bring some sort of just togetherness in the country again and kind of unite people. If not for fixing the prison system, if not for fixing criminal reform and all those other things, I really hope that they kind of just bring the country together and stop having so much like, oh, the right and the left, and there's no one in between, and everyone has to fight, and we all have to argue. It's so stupid. We're all arguing over opinion. It makes no sense.
And I see that as a distraction in a weird way. Like, if people are so caught up on right versus left, and then the government can go and do some sneaky shit behind our backs because we're so caught up on this.
So don't worry, we're going to do a whole thing on that, trust me.
Perfect.
I go deep down that hole.
That's what she said. Anyways.
That was the best.
Yeah. But that's the other thing, too. It's just like, I forgot what I was going to say now. But it's one, it's like, where's that 1.9 trillion going to come from? Because it is going to bite us in the ass eventually. But the way I was listening to something before we came on here, we're going to end up paying for this regardless. Mm-hmm. It's just when and how much. And so I think the way the Biden administration is approaching it is like, let's just rip the Band-Aid off now so we can hopefully be done with it. And when it does come time to pay up, everyone will either be able to, or it won't be that detrimental when it does come time to pay up, because there is a price to pay, and it's going to be paid, whether you want it to be or not. It's
you hear that, everybody watching? You're going to pay the price.
Yeah.
You were warned here first. Yes. Remember.
True. This is true. But but the other thing too is what I would like to see from this administration is just accountability in politics and all of our politicians, and in accountability in our police force, across the board. I just want to see accountability. Like, oh, you did some shady shit. Sorry, buddy, you're out.
Yeah. No, none of this like, oh, brothers in blue and this and that, and let's cover up for this one and bullshit. I mean, regardless, those things will probably always go on at an extremely high level.
Right.
But for the most part, I mean, if we can eliminate like 80% of it and really hold people accountable for this shit that they do, that's really what it comes down to. Just someone has to be accountable for any of this shit that goes on. Like,
right.
No
one passing the buck.
Yeah.
It's just, you fucked up, admit it, and there's consequences to it. I mean, that's what you're taught in school, and hopefully you're taught you are accountable for your actions, and there are consequences for every action, whether they're good or bad. But there are consequences for every action, and you will have to answer for them. And for whatever reason, our politicians and higher levels of structure don't seem to have to answer for the stupid shit that they do, and it blows my mind, because that's not how, I'm pretty sure that's not how most of you were raised when you went to prep school.
Yeah.
That's not how I was raised. I mean, even people from low-income neighborhoods, when I used to teach in East Oakland, majority of people are not raised like that, with no accountability, and there's no consequences for your actions. So where it comes, like with that senator from Georgia, where she's cashed in right before coronavirus shutdown hit and sold off all her stocks, and why was she not put on at least administrative leave while that was investigated for insider trading? How was that not the immediate recourse of action? Okay, if you just so happen to get lucky, fine. But that's really suspicious that you're married to some high up in the New York Stock Exchange, and before anything official is announced, you sell off all of your stock conveniently.
Yep.
Looks like insider trading to me.
It might be. I don't know, though.
Right. But it's again, since she hasn't been proven guilty of a crime, put her on administrative paid leave while there's a thorough investigation. And if it comes out, okay, bitch, you lost your job. And if it comes out it was a clean sale, cool. You still got paid, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I just didn't understand, why are people not more upset about this? This is a grown woman who's just kind of and I'm sure there are other senators and whatnot that made money off of it too, but it's just I just want to see accountability and across the board.
And this is the last thing I'll say about it, but the reason why more people aren't upset about things like that is because those things happen every single day.
It's also true.
That's the problem, is that we get compounded with shitty event and then shitty event and then shitty event and shitty event, and we're a culture that just loves to eat all those things up and talk about it the day of, and then once it's over, what's the next thing? Unfortunately.
Yeah, or once it's over, I'm going to put on Netflix so I can get away from the current state of affairs and be in my own world that's hopefully less fucked up. So.
All right, well, Elly, I think this was a great first episode.
Thanks, me too. I had a lot of fun.
I had a great time. That was a great conversation.
Thank you.
We hope all you guys out there that watched it enjoyed it. Make sure you go check out her Just Animals podcast. I highly recommend it. It's very funny. You're going to hear me and Scott on there very soon.
Yes.
But for this week's episode of the Random University, that's it. I hope all you Biden fans out there enjoy your day tomorrow. I don't care either way.
That sounds so helpful.